All right, welcome to Rapid Fire Manufacturing. I'm really excited to have my good friend Arthur Field here. He's the founder of Spindles Turning and Earning Solutions. It's a company that's focused on helping manufacturers keep their machines running smoothly and efficiently, from optimizing lathes to mills and multi-axis machining centers. Arthur makes sure that the operations are profitable and productive. And on top of that, he is a presenter for MTD CNC, where he's bringing insight from, superstars of the manufacturing world. If you were at IMTS, you probably saw him running around from booth to booth filming. So, Arthur, super excited to have you on. Are you ready to dive in?
Oh, yeah, David. I'm grateful to be here, man. I'm glad we connected and that this is becoming possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first question I have is, so you've been hands-on with everything. You said from lathes to
Yeah,
mills and multi-axis machining centers. And now
yeah.
that you're running Spindles Turning and Earning, what has been your biggest challenge in keeping things profitable while dealing with some of the changes in tech and customer demands? And also, how do you keep those spindles turning while trying to stay ahead of the game?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's the biggest challenge is usually the fact that through all of business, we're all dealing with other human beings. And let's be real, I don't like to fail. David, you like to fail?
No, not at all.
No, man, right? So it's dealing with the human element is the biggest challenge, because as things are rapidly advancing, it becomes natural that change needs to happen to
Mhm.
make adoption of those changes. And a lot of people see that change and they're like, oh man, well, it's already running. I've already proven it out. I've already got everything working, whether it's on a mill, a lathe, a multi-axis mill turn, whatever center it is. Once you get that part running and you're making good parts and quality assurance is happy and your customers are happy and your assemblers are happy if you've got them in-house, disrupting that becomes like a terrifying perspective. And so the challenge with keeping spindles turning and earning is, one, we want to make sure that they are turning and they're earning dollars, but
Mhm.
we want to make sure that they're doing so in a way that makes sense, right? A lot of the times when you get things set up, it's not the most optimum way. It's just the way you figured out to get it going. And then the people above don't want to disrupt the operations, and they don't want to introduce that unknown variable of, is it going to be successful? Are we going to fail? Well, if we fail, then we're going to have wasted whatever, a day, 4 hours, an hour, whatever the
Mhm.
time is, and we're going to have wasted those dollars. And so there's a lot of hesitancy. So all the machine shops I go to, and I've been in hundreds of shops over the years, it's, you go in and it's really common that the CFOs or the general managers, it depends on the size of the organization who's holding the purse strings, but they have a lack of trust in their suppliers, their partners, when it comes to executing on plans. And it's not like it's unfounded. Chances are they took an opportunity at some point
Mhm.
and they were burned. And, it's the whole once bitten, twice shy kind of conundrum starts to arise. So that's really what made it necessary for me to start my company. I was making a really good living after going from machining into distributor sales. I was really, really comfortable, dude. And it wasn't for money that I left. It's because I want to be able to get through to these machine shops out there. And I want to be able to get through to the CFOs and the CEOs and the owners of these companies and the directors at the high level, to help them understand that we can do things with calculated risk. We can look at the variables. We can help it all make sense. And I
Mhm.
can introduce them to people that I've grown to trust over the last 23 years that I know aren't going to steer them wrong. And when they say something's going to happen, they will do whatever it takes to make it happen.
That's phenomenal. So it was almost out of necessity. After visiting that many shops, you saw there was a need and something
Yeah.
you could do to help the industry.
Oh man, watching a shop close their doors, right? Watching an owner give up on their vision, shut the doors, lay everyone off, the impact it has on the families, the communities, the local economies that rely on those shops. It was breaking my heart every year to
Mhm.
see these different shops that, they didn't consider the risk of doing nothing, right? They were like, we'll just
Right.
keep our head down. We'll just keep going. They didn't consider the risk of doing nothing. So now that's my mission. I want to make sure everyone's aware that there is a massive risk to doing nothing, and it's going to cost you your dream.
Well, that's awesome. That's a great thing you're doing. Do you have time for a overtime question?
Oh, I like overtime in sports. That's when all the action happens. Hit me with it, David.
So, what advice would you give to someone just starting out in machining or manufacturing, and how can they adapt to some of those, the pace that is changing so much? How can they kind of adapt to that?
Okay, well, are we really quick, just to make sure I'm answering the question, are we talking about people entering the workforce, or are we talking about like ownership level starting a company?
Entering the workforce.
Okay, well, if you're entering the workforce and you're just getting into manufacturing right now, one, I recommend you find communities of people that are super passionate about it and find what makes you passionate about it. Okay. Don't be ashamed to totally geek out about all the technology. It's how I ended up loving my career in manufacturing. And make those human to human connections. Get out to events like IMTS or Fab Tech that's coming up, or other trade shows to meet other people. This year was my first IMTS, and it was my first in 23 years in the industry. And I have some regret. I wish I would have went sooner, because those human to human connections, that's how you know if you can trust that person. And
yeah, absolutely.
The next level of manufacturing, the way that these young people are going to advance their careers is by making those connections and learning from others, because we're all going to raise together.
And to your point, I think it was 19,000 people per day showed up at IMTS.
Yeah, total number for the week, I saw anywhere from 90 to 130,000. Haven't seen any official numbers yet. They might be out. I just haven't seen them.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, you could feel that energy.
Oh, yeah.
And the conversations I had the entire week it was awesome. It's like you see the revival in manufacturing happening.
It definitely, man. And the theme was partnerships and cooperation between people I never thought would work together. There's so many companies unveiling like collaborative projects because they saw that their shared customers had a need, and that they both had parts to that equation they could bring together to better serve those customers. It was just like hit me right in the heart.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to do as a country too. Come together, and obviously there's some competition because we're all in different businesses, but start collaborating, right? Because it's all about bringing manufacturing back and really reviving it.
Yeah, and it's the same reason I work with MTD CNC, being a presenter for them, because they're an unbiased news source, right? In distributors and other places, you'll find a lot of politics that go on, and MTD is committed to being like that neutral territory. Look, we're going to talk about the technologies. We're going to get you your answers. We're going to build a community of people that love it, and it's the unbiased nature, because they don't worry about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're almost out of time here. So that wraps up the episode for Rapid Fire Manufacturing. So stay tuned for more insights from leaders across the industry. Arthur, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.